3 Disturbing True Trucker Horror Stories, Volume 8. Number 1. Working as a driver for the Ross Distribution Center in Arizona was a great experience for me. Unlike most truckers, I didn't have to work overnight shifts, and most of my shipments only took me about 3 hours away from the distribution center, which allowed me to spend most nights at home with my family. However, one day I had a terrifying experience that I will never forget. On that day, I was picking up a newly filled trailer from my truck that I was going to be taking to 3 of the Ross stores in the area. When I arrived at the distribution center, I was told that it might take a while to load up the truck because they were short-staffed, so I offered to lend a hand. I helped another worker in the warehouse load boxes and pallets into the truck that I was going to be hauling off, and we were done in no time at all. It wasn't until about an hour into my drive that I realized that I had left my water bottle in the back of the truck. Since it was summertime in Arizona and hydration is essential in that heat, I decided to pull off down a small gravel road that I had taken before to use the bathroom and retrieve my water bottle. However, as I was stepping inside the trailer, the door suddenly fell shut behind me, and I found myself locked inside. I tried to open the door from the inside, but it wouldn't budge. I began to panic, realizing that I had left my phone plugged in up front and wouldn't be able to call for help. The first day was the worst. The heat was intense and I could feel myself getting lightheaded. After about an hour and finishing all of my water, I passed out. I woke up in the hospital 12 hours later, having been found by a family who lived down the gravel road. The doctors said it was a miracle that I didn't suffer any permanent brain damage from the heat and dehydration. Despite this terrifying experience, I still look back on my time working in Arizona fondly. It was the best trucking job I ever had, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have spent most nights at home with my family. Number 2. As a trucker who has spent the better part of my life on the road, I have encountered my fair share of danger. Despite my extensive experience on the road, I have come to realize that no amount of preparation can truly ready you for the most unexpected situations. One particular trip comes to mind, which left a lasting impression on me. A few years ago, I was making a trip from Seattle to Washington, D.C., transporting computer chips across a 3,000-mile journey. The first day went smoothly, and as night approached, the only notable thing that happened was an accident that I had driven past. 2 trucks and a car were involved, and one of the trucks had driven off the road and into a guardrail. The other truck had notable damage to the front end, where the engine was located, and it had driven into a minivan, crushing it and causing it to end up on its side in a ditch. As I drove through the swarm of first responders, I saw people being airlifted while others had tarps put over them. It was a tragedy, and it was not the first time I had seen such an incident. I had become desensitized to fatal accidents and did not look twice as I passed this one. However, the image of the minivan kept popping up in my mind, and I couldn't shake off the thought of children potentially being in the back. Fast forward about an hour, and I had gotten off at my exit, continuing down a more isolated road. In the darkness, I saw silhouettes on the road, which turned out to be 2 children. Their expressionless faces sent chills down my spine, and my head became flooded with emotion. The image of the damaged minivan surged back into my mind, and the visions and emotions I held continued to grow worse until it suddenly stopped as fast as it started. The children vanished into thin air, leaving the road deserted once again, and I was shaken to my core. I couldn't comprehend what had just happened, and not even a minute later I knew I had to sleep that night instead of driving any further. The dream I had that night was vivid, and I found myself in a hospital where a child was admitted into the emergency room, visibly in critical condition. I saw only one child and questioned where the other had been. Then it hit me that they hadn't made it after the initial impact. As I continued to look on, the same intensified emotion swept upon me, and as soon as that happened, I woke up. It was morning, and I realized I needed to get back on my route. The day went by fine, and nothing else happened. However, the events that took place during that period have served as a continuous reminder to always be cautious on the road. Number 3. I was driving with my friend Emma to a house party that was out of town. We were both excited to be going to a party away from our usual spots. Our semester exams were finally over, and this was supposed to be our YOLO kind of party, but seems like fate had something else planned for us. The night was dark and foggy, and we were blasting music and singing along. We were casually chatting about life in general, and we were going about our usual gossip. Suddenly, Emma gasped, and I turned to see what was wrong. "What's that?" Emma asked, pointing to the car behind us. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw a dark sedan with its headlights off following us. I couldn't make out who was driving, but it gave me a creepy feeling. I tried to shake off the feeling and focus on driving. "Maybe they're just going to the same party or nearby somewhere," I said, trying to reassure Emma and myself. As we drove on, the car behind us stayed close. We took a few turns, but it still followed us. I could see that Emma was getting scared, and so was I. Suddenly, the car sped up and pulled alongside us. I turned to look, and I saw a pale face with black eyes eyes staring at us. I screamed and swerved and almost crashed into a ditch. "Let's go back home," Emma said, her voice shaking. Unsure of what to do next, I agreed and turned the car around to play it safe. As we drove back, the car followed us, never leaving our side. We tried to speed up, but the car kept up with us easily. We were both panicking now, wondering what was happening. We tried calling our friends and families, but the network was no longer reachable. Finally, we arrived back in town and drove straight to my house. We parked the car and ran inside, locking all the doors and windows. We both collapsed on the couch, panting and trying to catch our breath. "What the hell was that?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," I replied, still shaken up, "but we need to figure it out." We casually searched on the internet if this was some kind of a sign or signal, trying to find any information on the car and the person behind the wheel, but as expected, we found nothing useful, only stories of similar experiences that other people have gone through. As we dug deeper, we found the legend about a ghost that haunted that very road we had driven on. According to legend, a woman had died in a car accident on that road, and her ghost now haunted it, looking for her next victim. The story sent chills down our spines. It did not make any sense, but there was no reason to deny or discard the possibility either. It felt far-fetched, but the thought of the remote possibility that we might have been followed by a ghostly presence was terrifying. The next day, we felt curious about last night's incident, and so we went back to the road in daylight to see if we could find any clues. We saw nothing out of the ordinary, but as we drove back home, we noticed something strange. The same car that had followed us was now parked by the roadside near my house. We approached the car cautiously and peered inside. There was no one in the driver's seat, but we could feel a cold breeze blowing from within. Suddenly, the car door slammed shut on its own, and we heard a ghostly whisper in our ears. "Get out," the voice said, and we screamed and ran away. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this in the future.